Hi guys, I'm Mike with Robert, my superintendent. We're here today on our construction project site building a custom design built house on the north shore of the Sam Rayburn Reservoir. And I want to show you how we're avoiding costly foundation repairs. Now, foundation repairs can be expensive and they can cost around $5,000 to $10,000 for a house of this size. The house repairs can be as much as $15,000 to $20,000 for a total between $20,000 and $30,000. And we're building a 2,100 square foot house with a porch and a detached 1,000 square foot 3-car garage. Of the top 15 cities in the United States that have major foundation failures, 7 of these cities are in the state of Texas. An expansive clay soil is the leading cause of these foundation problems. The clay swells when it's saturated with water, causing the building to lift and crack the foundation, and the clay will contract when it's dry and the foundation will settle. So for this project site, we need to determine if there is any expansive soil before we begin construction. And if there is, then we need to design the foundation pad with this in mind. Now, I did some preliminary investigation by researching the USGS webpage, which shows the county's geological information. I'll put a link for it below. You can review your geological maps in your area by plugging in your address. And for this house project, I found that the soil designation for this area has soil named Moswell, Kurth, and Ray Lake. The Moswell soil has a high shrink swell potential and low strength. The Kurth soils have a moderate shrinking and swelling of the ground that may crack foundations and other structures and require some unique design and construction techniques or maintenance. And the Ray Lake soil has a very high shrink swell potential, a high clay content, and low strength. So with my preliminary review of the USGS, there was enough concern that I recommended to the owner that we perform a geotechnical soils report. This soils report would confirm the stability of his existing soil and determine if there is expansive soil below the foundation. There are 4 questions. Number 1, what is a geotechnical soils report? 2, what is the cost of this report? 3, do I need it on my project site? And 4, how do I go about obtaining a soils report? Number 1, geotechnical soils report. The primary purpose of a geotechnical soils report is to provide you with professional analysis of the soil condition below your planned foundation. This report will get geological information so that your structural engineer can design the foundation that will support the building loads. The cost of your geotechnical soils report. Initially, a rough estimate is around 1 to 2% of construction costs. A geotechnical firm typically prices their reports by the number and depth of the soil bores that they will perform at your site. Their range is typically between $1,500 and $3,000 per bore. It depends on your structure, but typically for houses in this area, we'll have them perform 1 soil boring for every 1,000 square feet at a depth of 20 feet. In our case, this house was around 2,000 square feet, and the garage was around 1,000 square feet, so I recommended that we take 3 soil borings at a depth of 20 feet. Geotechnical reports for building construction are usually required for nearly all projects when submitted for permit applications. You can check with your local building department to see if they require a soil report. You may be in an area with enough information on the makeup of the bearing capacity of the soil that it wouldn't be necessary. 4. How do you get a geotechnical report? Well, you have a geotechnical firm perform soil borings at your property site to get boring test samples of your soil. They analyze these samples at their laboratory and determine the overall characteristics. To prepare for these borings, you need to lay out your house or structure on your property Now you can hire a surveyor to lay out your footprint of your design. You can also lay out your house or structure by reviewing my other video on how to lay out your house on your property. You also need to survey the location of your bore locations. Either you do it or have your surveyor crew do it, and then schedule the geotech's boring crew. After analyzing the soil borings at their laboratory, the geotechnical firm will produce a professional engineer's geotechnical report providing characteristics of the soil. And when you analyze their report, you'll notice the boring logs. They identify the depth on the left-hand side, and then they'll give you a series of numbers that identify various items, which are number 1, natural moisture content, number 2, liquid limit, number 3, plastic limit, and number 4, plasticity index. The plasticity index number is the most important. The higher the PI number, the higher the clay soil content, which is expansive. Good soil conditions for building foundations have a PI of 20 or less. So if you look at bore number 1, the depth is identified on the left-hand side of the bore log. In the first 2 foot, you see the moisture content is 13%, and the plasticity index number is 14, and identified as a lean clay. Now, this soil is suitable material. However, the deeper soil has a PI of 52 and labeled a fat clay, which has too much clay content and is an unsuitable material to support the foundation. Bore number 2 has a soil with PI of 40, and bore number 3 has a PI of 33 and 51, which is way too expansive clay material to build a foundation. Now, if the geotechnical engineer report finds this soil condition does not meet the necessary structural support, then they will make the appropriate suggestions for fixing the problem in their report. Items would include, but are not limited to, the following. Number 1, replace the expansive clay soil with engineered select fill. Number 2, a chemical injection of the soil to a depth of 10 feet. Number 3, a slab supported on drill piers. And number 4, construct deeper footings. Once you identify all the geological elements of the site, and your structural engineer can use the geotechnical report to design the appropriate foundation. If you're buying a house in a new development, you may request your builder to do a site-specific testing on your lot and provide you with the results. In these new developments, they typically do one soil report for 100 to 200 homes to be built. Typically, soils report take 1 week to complete after performing the soil borings at your site. In my next video, I will review our structural foundation design in response to this geotechnical report. I certainly wish you success in your upcoming building project.
Success. Success. Success.